What's going on, everybody? Good late morning here on this Tuesday. You know what we do on Tuesday. It's Youth Watch Tuesday. We take a look at basically every player on the Seahawks that is playing that is on a rookie deal and just try to judge where things are going in the immediate future because these are the players that matter the most, right? If you are on a rookie deal and have the potential to be part of this team for the next decade, that's what we're really thinking about right now, I think, as a fan base. Maybe not even decade, but even like 6 years. That's a lifetime in football. So this is what we track every week, and we start with tracking the running backs. Where I mean, you wouldn't call it good, right? Neither player was particularly productive. I don't think either player's doing anything wrong. They're just being set up to fail. Walker was very inefficient running the ball. He did make a little bit of hay as a receiver. Charbonnet did get a touchdown, but couldn't really get anything going as a running back. And Walker's PFF grade went a little bit down. They actually did think he played poorly. I don't know if I agree. And then Charbonnet actually saw his grade go up a little bit because he's a really good pass protector. And I think that's a reasonable cadence to expect at this point. Charbonnet is just the more reliable third down back because he can block. And Walker is otherwise your bell cow. I think that should be the formula. And once Walker is 100%, I'm hoping that it will be. All right. So that's it for the running backs. Before I go any further, I do want to say real quick, I hope you like this video. If you do, please click the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to help support the channel. Okay, so now we go to wide receiver, where we do get a little bit of a, I'm going to say, bright spot. Like, this is the one area that maybe you're coming away from feeling pretty okay about things, because JSN did have a good game. I'm going to withhold any higher praise than that because he still didn't look like a guy that was worth a first round pick to me, right? We're talking about 69 yards on 6 catches in a game where your number one receiver's out. Like, that would have been a great opportunity, and I know it's not just on him, but it would have been a great time to have a receiver that you picked in the first round last year go off for like 12 catches. And he just doesn't have the ability to separate consistently when the defense isn't afraid of anything behind them. That's just who he is. And I don't know if he'll ever be much more than that. I don't know if speed is something that you can ever really teach. He can still be a good player in this league. I still like him, and he still had a good game, but in terms of him ever being a number one receiver in this league, I think you're dreaming. I think you'd have to build a very, very specific offense to have a player like JSN as your number one target. PFF grade did go up for this game, though, so credit to JSN. He did play well. He just didn't go over the top in a way that we needed to win. Bobo had one catch for 15 yards. Again, his game was whatever. And I really do want to continue to speak on this a little bit because I think Jake Bobo is the latest in a line of Seahawks players that Seahawks fans have just gotten way, way ahead of themselves on. He's just too limited, guys. Like, Jake Bobo, there are some things he's good at. He's a good route runner, and he's got good hands. He's good on special teams, and he's a great run blocker. But that's not a guy who you need to be playing more than about 20 times a game because he cannot get open reliably. So if there's some vision in your head of Jake Bobo being a top 3 receiver for the Seahawks next year, I'd get it out of there. That's not a fantasy. That's a nightmare. We don't need that. He's just not that kind of player. He's the kind of player you want in moderation. And he's an older player, so I really don't think he's going to be much more than that at any point. So I would definitely pull people back from thinking we're good for the next 5 years at receiver or anything like that. We're not. We're really not even good for it next year. And AJ Barner on the had another catch, another good play in this game. I know it wasn't a big impact, but given the fact that he is the backup tight end and he's competing with Pharaoh Brown for snaps as well, I think he's doing really well. Been a bright spot for this team. 70.1 PFF grade also says that he's doing other things right beyond just the on the field stats. And again, I wonder if the key here is AJ Barner just needs to be the starter so we can be a little more balanced. Okay, now we get to the offensive line. I mean, I'll say this, as a unit, I think they pass protected pretty well on Sunday. I think the pass protection was pretty good. The problem was players couldn't really get open, and their run blocking was really bad. So I'll say that much. And they did think Cross played fairly decently. They gave him flack for a penalty. He did allow one pressure, but I think he played well. I think that when you're in the situation the Seahawks are in right now, where they have to throw the ball so much and everybody knows it, it's really hard to pass protect, and he's holding up. The run blocking, I mean, there's a lot going wrong there, right? It's not just Cross's individual play. Christian Haynes played a little bit, picked up a penalty. I think he allowed two pressures. Grades fell, and at this point, man, just don't play him anymore. He's getting ready for next year. Maybe he's going to make that move to left guard. A lot of people like that idea. I like that idea, but stop sticking him at right guard. It's becoming cruel at this point. It's not better than what we have with Bradford, as much as Bradford is not particularly good. Speaking of Bradford, by the way, he did allow two pressures in this game, but actually wasn't that terrible. He was bleh. And bleh is something I'm more than happy to take from Anthony Bradford, because bleh would be a big improvement over what we saw early in the season. But Bradford has not picked up a penalty in like a month now, I think. And he's allowed some pressures, but for the most part, we are starting to see little signs of improvement there. Let's see if we can keep working on that. Let's see if we can keep getting that. And let's just shelve the Christian Haynes thing, please. I'm not seeing the things that I thought I saw with him in college, for one. And number two, I do really like that idea of moving him to left guard next year, because physically he can do it. But I don't think shoving him in for right guard like 12 snaps every game is going to make that better. Only other young offensive lineman that played this week was Mike Jarrell. He picked up a penalty, another penalty, so he had another 4 pressures allowed. Again, I'm not grilling the guy. He's a 4th string right tackle. Hard for him to not give up stuff throughout the course of a game, but I think that overall he did play as good as we could have expected. His grades did fall, but again, he's grinding out there, and I respect the grind. Byron Murphy picked up a few tackles in this game, so he did add to his stat sheet. Yeah, he had 4. I don't think he played well at all. PFF actually gave him a pretty good grade, but I thought he was I thought he was getting pushed around. And it was probably the first time this year I thought Murphy looked bad, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but I do think that he was legitimately bad against Buffalo, and a lot of the problems we had in that game started with him. No other young defensive linemen played. No young linebackers played in this game. Although, when you think about it, Ernest Jones IV, is kind of on his rookie deal, so you could add him here if you really wanted to. And I guess if I were to quickly comment on his play, he put up numbers, and I don't think he played badly, but you certainly didn't come away from that game feeling amazing about that trade, right? You didn't come away from that game thinking, wow, we got a really special one, I can tell after one game, but we'll give him time. We're giving him time around here. Maybe I'll add him to the list next week just because. He will be playing a lot, at least. We'll have stuff to talk about. Mafe, no stats whatsoever. Maybe that injury's legitimate. Maybe he's just going to be like this the rest of the season, which would really, really suck. You guys have no idea how bad that would suck. And Derek Hall had, I think, 4 tackles, and both guys were more or less non-factors. Derek Hall was worse than a non-factor. Mafe did get screwed on his sack. He did have a sack on Josh Allen. There was some garbage penalty, which still not thrilled about that. Took Mafe's sack off the board. But neither guy had a big impact either way. So that's really all I can say there. It's just not a good game for those guys. They both had their grades drop, and they need to do better next time. Cornerback, speaking of guys that need to do better next time, Reek Woolen had some tackles, picked up a pass deflection, but he was so bad with his tackling and some of the effort stuff that there's no way you can say he played well, right? PFF grade slipped. He got graded poorly. Just not really a good game. And I'll give him credit. His coverage numbers on the year are still incredible, but you see some of the effort on the run plays, and you do see why some people wonder if this is worth it. And if it isn't fixed by the end of the year, we have to start wondering if it is fixable. Devin Witherspoon, he picked up 5 tackles. He got beat up pretty bad in coverage. PFF grade fell. I mean, it's just It's just a dark and scary and tragic picture being painted right now by some of these guys on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Witherspoon in particular had such a bad game against Atlanta. I thought he'd be good for a bounce back. And I know he got hosed by the official on that one play, but he's not even making plays on the ball. He's got one pass deflection in 8 games. Devin Witherspoon has one pass deflection in. He's played every game, I'm pretty sure, in 8 games. And even if it is 7 or 6, that's crazy for a guy who made plays on the ball constantly last year. No other young running backs played. I know Joby's kind of young, but that's a little bit of a different thing, right? When you're a free agent pickup because you didn't work out initially and you just signed for the minimum, it's a little bit different. We don't have a piece of our future invested into that, I feel like. Kobe Bryant, actually, I thought played a pretty good game, made a pass breakup, picked up like 5 tackles. PFF grade went way up. So if there's any silver lining here, I thought Kobe Bryant played a pretty respectable game. Jarek Reed did pick up his first tackle of the season. PFF did not like his play overall, though, because of, I think he had a penalty on special teams. So his special teams grade is now 50. And that's it for the young players. That's it for Youth Watch. There's some stuff here that is pretty good, right? Like, I think Kobe Bryant, you got to give it up a little bit to him. Like I said, Cross played well. JSN. I'll give Barner a little bit of props as well, but it's usually better, right? We'd want it to be a little bit better for us to feel great about our future prospects. But this is where we are right now. So I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. And the young players, man, need them a little bit more than we've gotten the last several of the last few games.